Good evening. We have a few members here from the Master Facility Plan Oversight Committee. They're the committee that oversees and approves all of our projects prior to it coming for board approval. So we have co-chair Mike Dawson here to give us a brief update.
Good evening. I just want to recognize the other two members of our committee, co-chair Pat Loeffler and Sue Shanklin. Our mission at the Master Facility Oversight Committee is to monitor and report to you, the Board of Education, the district's compliance with the plan. As funded by multiple sources, including not limited to the SAVE dollars and PEPL. The committee will oversee the district's commitment to use $40 million in SAVE funds for property tax relief, and I believe we're coming close to the end of that now. The committee will provide counsel to district administration to help promote within the Cedar Rapids Community District activities related to this charter whenever possible or wherever possible. And I think this is our main role. We proved it time and time again over the course of the history of this committee, and we'll get into the history of the committee in just a few seconds here. Our commitment. We will represent the community to ensure the funds are invested as intended. That was one of the big selling points of the Oversight Committee many years ago in a couple of the elections. We're going to monitor projects to ensure they are completed on time and on budget, and that's happened multiple times, particularly in the first 10 years. Provide recommendations and assurance that will keep our schools progressive learning environments that are aligned with the current advancement in education. As you all know, I'm not preaching to the choir here, but things are changing in education. Always have and always will, and it's becoming more challenging to keep up with it. The committee history, as you can see by the highlights there, the bond oversight, the silo oversight, the master facility plan oversight, and the SAVE oversight committee. So it's all been, that's where it started committee-wise. Oversight committee-wise. But the process really started back in 1996 with the facility study group, where people from all schools met and toured all the schools along with teachers and administration and started prioritizing things that needed to be upgraded and fixed in the schools. And that's where it all started, and that's been, you can do the math, 23 some years ago. And what that group was doing was setting out a something for the to do a silo vote on, and the original vote failed, and therefore it got scaled back, and with the help of the Chamber of Commerce at that time, the bond oversight, or the bond bill, the bond vote, pardon me, came into being. And one of the selling points was, for the community, was to have the bond oversight committee. And that's where this committee has its roots. It was instrumental in passage of the bond vote. The community values the oversight that we provide, and the district values the trust the Cedar Rapids community is shown in the oversight committee. I'm sure you all do. Current committee members, as you can see, there's a broad variety there. We have over an 80% participation rate. The talent on the committee is very extraordinary, and they've helped the district in numerous ways. And one of the things that always transcends the committee is that We're currently working with our 4th superintendent, and there's been 24 school board members since the Bond Oversight Committee started. So as you can see, time passes, the faces change, but the purpose is still there, and that's very important. Key accomplishments, as we alluded to earlier, the first 10 years, we really were able to take advantage of the economy, because it was hit, the economy slowed down, so we were able to, because of our funding, we were able to get projects done under budget, and that, when they were done under budget, that allowed us to do extra projects, such as, you can see them listed out there. And that was important for future areas where we don't have to go back and assign, we can continue to build on what we had. A good man once told me, a budget is made in advance and revised quarterly. He was, his name was Emmett Sherman, and he was one of the co-chairs here. And he was always pushing to remind us to look at tomorrow and not just today, and that everything's fluid, and we have to maintain our flexibility. Some of the key accomplishments, and you probably are all used to it by now, but geothermal, when we first put those in the buildings, was a huge topic. And it's lent itself tremendously to student learning, number one, and to help with the general budget. And if you ask any of the teachers and students what some of these facilities updates has done to help them do their job, I don't know if you would be amazed, but it continually amazes me the different answers they give. So, and it's been an integral part of our oversight function to have some of our meetings on project sites so that we can get feedback. And we try and do that as time allows, but time doesn't always allow that. Continuing on with some of the key accomplishments, I just want to draw out the second item there, the Kingston Stadium. That was in the original 10-year projects. It got added to the original 10 years projects after multiple discussions, and it was a big topic then. And putting that turf in has been instrumental in not just for 3 teams playing on the same surface. I don't know how many other districts in the state of Iowa do that, but I want to wager there's probably not very many of them. But it's not just 3 schools, but 3 schools football teams, 3 schools soccer teams, 3 schools bands. It goes on and on and on. So it takes a lot of wear and tear. And now we're 10 years down the road or so on that field, and we're looking at replacing it now. And it was on your consent agenda tonight. So I think it was a wise choice at that time, and it continues to be a wise choice now. This is the crux of our presentation here. Look at these 100-year-old schools that we have made an investment in. There were people just like you and I that came up with the idea, went out and sold it to the community, and they stood the test of time. 100 years or more in school buildings is phenomenal and probably extraordinary. But, is that building the right building for the next 100 years? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is part of your charge. and our charge also to support you in what your decisions are for that. The, schools are going to look tremendously different in the next 50, 75, 100 years. I like this one. Think of distance learning. Wouldn't have that been nice these last snow days and so when you, so. Our committee supports the district being visionary, thinking out of the box, trying to find people that can help them figure out what's needed in the next 50, 75, 100 years. And the district has to tell the story to the Cedar Rapids community. It's not just enough to sell it to the school district community, but to the whole Cedar Rapids community. That's important because that's where the support is too. You don't have to have a kid in school in the Cedar Rapids Community School District to benefit from what these schools provide, because it may be a coworker or an employee of yours. So we're planning for classroom needs for today right now. And again, 50, 75, 100 years from now, we need to continue to think about that. Our challenge, what does a classroom need to look like? Our ancestors answered that question. And I hope that you guys can continue to answer those questions. And I say that they were good stewards of our school district. And I believe you and we are good stewards, and we need to continue that, and I believe we are up to the challenge. And lastly, it's all about the future generation of our children. The canvas is ready for all of us to continue that vision. So I highly encourage you again to be artists, to be creative, not to, I know we're not stuck in the mud, but sometimes it's hard to get past the status quo. So, anyway, that's everything that I have. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you because there's some history that I learned here, and to the committee
Yep.
for partnering with the school district, because we do have a vision, and it's nice to have the support and guidance that you provide us. So I thank you for that.
Yep.
And
You're
your
welcome.
committee.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you, President Hummel. I was going to say the same, that this community certainly has been supportive in my tenure of our public schools, and you and your committee have helped to ensure that public trust, and we appreciate it. If I could, I would. It wouldn't do much good, but would triple your salary. I know it's a big.
There's good,
big pain
hey.
there, but that might bring the news media out.
I don't know. Tracy brings us these little treats every now and then to our meetings, and
He
it's
does.
like,
Oh.
yeah, they're just laid out on the table, ready for us to, It's at the end of the day. We've been working hard all day, and we're putting in a little overtime. So,
And I appreciate your comments. I was at the Arthur Centennial celebration and heard a little bit of history. And when that was built, hard to believe, but that was on the outskirts of Cedar Rapids.
yes, yeah.
There
yeah.
was nothing around, and so it took a little bit of fortitude.
Yes.
Probably a great deal of fortitude on the school
build it
board
out
to
there,
say
yep.
what you're going to build a building there. So I appreciate your comments about, we have to have some foresight. We have to be able to look forward to the future, and it may not always be tremendously publicly
Popular.
appreciated, I guess. But we have to really do that. So we appreciate your comments and your work and the committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Susan.